Now I'm going to show you how to install R and RStudio on Windows 11. So R is the sort of daddy of all the statistical programs. It contains masses of functions created specifically by the statistical community for users. So the first place you need to go to is the Comprehensive R archive, which is called CRAN. So let's put CRAN and R. So Comprehensive R Archive Network, and I want to download for Windows. So you have it for Linux, for Mac and for Windows, and there are different things you need to think about depending on which ones you're installing. First thing I want to do is grab the base distribution, which is currently 4.4.1. So I'm grabbing and downloading that file. While that's downloading, I'm going to go and get something else as well. When you have Windows, it doesn't automatically come with some of the tools that you need to install some of the extra packages that you have with R. I'm going to download the R Tools package, which contains all of those extra tools. It's a 4.4.0 version, so I need R Tools 4.4. So you can install it from either of these two different ways. I'm going to do it from the installer rather than using the bit ARM installer because I haven't got that kind of chip. And in general, most people won't have that kind of chip in their computer. That's downloading the two main things that I need. The other thing I need is a tool that's going to make it easier for me to actually program in R. That's called RStudio. Now RStudio has actually become sort of POSIT. POSIT's the companies that taken over for it from its old title, so sometimes you might see it referred to as POSIT, though not very often. So I went to the RStudio desktop, which is going to be a tool which will allow me to run R from within that tool. So first they need to download and install R, and then you can download and install RStudio. But I can just do the download now at the same time. So if I look at my downloads, I'm downloading R Tools, R's already downloaded, and there's RStudio as well. So if I click on R for Windows, it's asking me about the security because it doesn't come from the Windows Store. I want to install it in English. I then have to agree the license, which is the new general public license, which is a typical free license. You can install it in a different place if you want to. I'm just going to allow it to install in the default in C program files. Allow it to install all of the main files and all the extra bits. You can customize the startup, which I tend to do because I've been using this for a long time. I prefer the old way of looking at R. So the old way has separate windows, and I prefer that. HTML help is fine, and the program is just going to be called R in the applications folder, so that's fine. Create a desktop shortcut sounds reasonable, so it'll appear here on my desktop, and if I have it in quick launch, it'll also appear at the bottom here. I use it quite often, so probably having a quick launch shortcut is a good idea. So that's doing that installation. Let's see on the downloads. R Tools is still taking a while to download. It's quite a big package. It's 428 megabytes compared to 81 for R itself. So R's completed the installation, and I've got a link there, and I should have one on the quick access as well. Now I'm going to just wait and let R Tools finish its downloading before I install RStudio, because I want to install it in a specific order. So first R, then R Tools, then RStudio. So R is the executable program which will do the statistical analysis. RTools is needed for when you add extra functionality and extra programs written by other people so that you can make them work. So I want to get that one set up next, so that when I set up RStudio, I know that RStudio will connect properly to all of the things that are in RTools and in R. There's nothing worse than setting things up in the wrong order and then having to find parts of the software that it can't connect to. So I want to make sure everything's nicely installed ready. 30 seconds to go. If I open my download file, my downloads folder, so we've already clicked on that one. You can see this one's not finished the download yet, so it's still unconfirmed. Getting very close. Zero seconds, it's done. Good. So now I can actually click on that one. So if I double click on this, this is another installation program. I'm going to put it in CR Tools, that's fine. And it's important to know what directory it's installed in, because RStudio needs to be able to find these particular files, which is why installing them in the correct order makes life easier. Because if you install RStudio first, then you have to tell RStudio later where to find all the tools. There's a lot of tools. This includes things like compilers and linking software and things that make you turn computer code into actually executable and runnable applications. So this is going to do all the things that are complicated so that you don't have to. Okay, so I can finish that setup. And lastly, RStudio. So RStudio is an example of what we call an integrated development environment, or an IDE. It allows you to write programs and then to execute them. And if they don't work, then it also allows you to debug them to figure out what went wrong. I'm going to put this in C Programs Files RStudio. It's going to be RStudio in the Start menu. It's extracting the files and then this will do the install. With this, you don't have to choose any particular options. So RStudio makes using R a lot easier by scaffolding the way you write programs. So I've done the installation of all those three, so now I can actually use the programs. Oops, finished. So I go to Start menu and I go to here, Recommended RStudio. Use the machine's version of R. I'm going to use the 64-bit. Use the highest bit version you can get on your computer. I don't think almost anyone will have a 32-bit computer left. Definitely you want to use 64 if you've got 64. And this is RStudio. It's asking about crash reporting. Yes, you can report if you want to. That's just a security setting. I've installed RStudio, and if you're looking at it now, you might see that it's been installed in Spanish, which is not quite what I expected, but that's the way it goes.